Alright, this is the quiz review 4.1 through 4.3 that was handed out on Friday. We'll go through some of these problems. The first set here have to do with arcs and arc measures, which are the same as your central angles. So, like if you look at angle SPR, it's really the same as arc SR. So we can just add them up. Like for example here, you have all these central measures, but at the end of the day, if you're measuring the major arc C, so we start at C, go all the way around the circle, pass through F, and then end at D, then you're just adding up all those central angles, which are the arc measures. So with this first one, we're shown a bunch of these angles, or arc measures, 60, 86, and 154. We're given all those. Now let's add those up to see what all of that measure is, all of that amount of the circle. So we have 6, 12, 20. Okay, so that's 300 degrees. That means the remainder here, so from here to here, that's, we can say, the measure of arc US, or just that measure of angle UPS. Now we know a circle has 360 degrees, so this remainder here, it must be 60. So this should be 60. Since these are congruent angles, you see this little arc here. Since we know those are congruent and they add up to 60, we know each one is 30. But we don't really actually need that bit of information for this question. It's asking for the measure of angle SPQ. SPQ is from S our vertex is P. We go to Q here. I had a good question in classes. Are we measuring this angle or are we measuring this angle? I mean, if you have one, you have the other, right? Because it's the remainder of the other is 360 degrees, makes 360 degrees. So this measure here is what we're looking for. So it's just 60 plus 86, which is 146. And like I said, if you know that one, you know this one here. It's 360 minus 146. Okay. Let's look at this one now. What's nice in this one, assume that lines which appear to be diameters are actual diameters. So if you look right here, this appears to be a diameter, so we can assume it is a diameter. If it's a diameter, we know that this is 180 degrees, and if this is 180 degrees, and this here is 135, we know that this angle, we'll just say arc CB, since we don't have a central point, we'll say arc CB is 45 degrees, because 45 and 135 equals 180. So we know this angle's 45, and since this appears to also be a diameter, we know those are two straight lines. When two straight lines cross, by vertical angles theorem, you know those angles are congruent. And you could have also thought of it this way, where if you look at this angle, you have 135, and then the remainder of that 180 degrees is the angle we just talked about, that 45 degree angle. So we have those angles. With those angles, we can either figure out this remainder, because they should all add up to 360. But just looking at this, it says CFD. We're looking for CFD, so that's from here all the way around the circle through F and ends at D. So really all we have to do is add all those up. So 45 plus 45, that's 90. We got 81 and we have 135. All those add up to the measure of the major arc CFD. So 6, that's 12, 20, right? So 306. Measure of that arc is CFD is 306. Okay, let's go through these real quick. Again, assume the lines which appear to be diameters are actual diameters. So just looking at this, right here, we know that all of this is 180. And if this is 140, then we know to get to 180, this must be 40. So, we know 40, and notice here, the arc says it's 6x minus 8. But we know that this arc is 40 degrees, just like the central angle there. So we can say 40 is equal to 6x minus 8. And then you just have some basic algebra. So x equals 8. And here, you'll see this appears to be a diameter. So all of this should be 180. And what you'll notice is we have these two arcs that show those angles are congruent. So how do you have 180 degrees composed of two central angles that are congruent? You can say this, if this is x, I want to show you this algebraically, maybe that'll help. We know that x plus x equals 180. So 2x equals 180. Therefore, x equals 90. And some of you just did this in your head. You knew that this must be 90 and this must be 90. So think about it. If the central angle is 90 degrees, and the arc, which should be the same, from here to here, says it's x plus 93, we know those two things are equal. So we can write 90 is equal to x plus 93. Therefore, x must equal, when you do the math, -3.